Hi, I'm Shelley Wilson. I'm a multi-genre author of over 20 books and a writing mentor. And this is the Campervan Writer Show. Let me ask you a question. Are you a perfectionist? I know I am, or I can be sometimes, but when it comes to my writing, I know that I can't afford to be a perfectionist, otherwise I would get nothing written. Now, I found a great quote for you, so let me just read this out. Almost all good writing begins with terrible first efforts. You need to start somewhere. And that quote comes from Anne Lamott. I love that quote so much. And with my writing clients, I often talk to them about the shitty first draft. And it's all about getting the words out of your head and down on the page. We haven't got room to think about, where do I put my commas? Where do I do, what spellings do I use? Or how does this work? And what you're trying to do at this stage is just vomit words onto the page so that you've got that first draft. We can edit later. What I want you to do is give yourself permission to write a shitty first draft. This is how I learnt to write. And the way I did that was, it doesn't exist anymore unfortunately, but there was a process in November called National Novel Writing Month. And the whole ethos behind it was to write 50,000 words in the 30 days of November. And I took part for 10 years in a row, and every single first draft of all of my books were written using Nano. And it was such an amazing tool to get me to sit my bum in the chair and get the first draft on the page. I didn't have time to think about anything else. I didn't edit on the go. I didn't worry about bits of research that I hadn't finished and finalised. I just put a big couple of crosses where I needed to go back and fill in the details. I just sat and I wrote. And I think that whole process of doing Nano really helped me to understand the value of sitting your bum in the chair and writing that first shitty draft and not overthinking it. Once we let perfectionism get inside our heads, then we struggle. We struggle to put anything down. I've had so many clients who've come to me with just one chapter. It's immaculate, it's fabulous, but they've not got beyond chapter 1 because they keep going back, they keep tweaking, they keep checking that it's okay. They haven't allowed themselves to just get those words out of their head and down on the page, or vomit words, as I like to say to my clients. It's really important that you give yourself that time, and done is better than perfect. So that is the job of a first draft, is to exist. Nothing else beyond that, because we've got the most amazing editors and proofreaders and teams of other writers who can help and support you for when you start to do the tweaking and the rewrites and the editing. At this stage, when you're just getting going, perfectionism doesn't have any room in our lives whatsoever. Think about it as if you are making a sandcastle. So at the moment, all you're doing is shoveling sand into a big pile. That's what you're doing at the moment. You're writing. When it's time to craft that sandcastle, that's when you bring in the professional editors and it turns into something beautiful. And that's what your book will be one day. At the moment, it just needs to exist. So what are my top 3 tips for you to stop being a perfectionist around your writing? Tip number 1 is to stop overthinking. I am a nightmare at overthinking. I overthink everything. So it's a real lesson in how to stay calm and keep hold of your sanity and just keep writing. So I fully understand where you're coming from if you think, oh yeah, it's okay to say stop overthinking, Shelley, but how? The other tips will help with that. The second tip is to try writing sprints. Now, I love writing sprints. This is where you would set your timer, and it might be 20 minutes, for example, and you just sit and write. That's it, 20 minutes. And when the timer goes off, you stop. You go make yourself a cup of tea, you do whatever you want to do. It might be that you set a timer, have a break, and then set another timer. It depends on your time. Writing sprints are a great way of just getting you going. And what you're trying to do is build up the volume of writing rather than thinking about the words and the process and all the rest of it. So that's a really handy tip to have. Having a writing buddy can also be really good because you can have writing sprints with other people. In my membership, we have co-writing sessions every month where we all jump on Zoom and we do an amazing job, and more often than not, we'll all get at least 2,000-3,000 words out of those sessions. So it can be really, really helpful to get words on the page if you're thinking about doing that. Tip number 3 is to read. Make sure you're reading everything you can, not just in your own genre, but in a wider genre as well, so that you're learning. Perfectionism doesn't teach us anything about the craft, but the more we read, the more we learn. We understand sentence structure, we find different language and different sayings and phrases and all sorts of things. So make sure that you're doing plenty of reading as well. We're going to finish today with a challenge that I want to set for you. I want you to look at your calendar and set a date 6 months from today. And I want you to tell yourself that that's the date that you will have finished your shitty first draft. Now, if you're up for it, I'd love you to go into the comments and write down that date so that you can come back and you can hold yourself accountable. It's really, really important to know that you have a schedule to follow. So giving yourself a deadline date is brilliant. I obviously work with my editor really closely, so she has my submission date already in the calendar. I know when I have to get my next manuscript written by, and it makes me write. It makes me sit my bum in the chair and do the work, and I haven't got time to think about perfection. I know that between me and my editor, we're going to get that perfect and make sure the book is the best it can be. So set the date, pop it in the comments, and then hold yourself accountable and get that first draft written. Don't overthink it. Have fun writing it as well. Make sure you're reading so that you're understanding your craft and you're developing as well. And be sure to subscribe so that you can follow more episodes.